Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trading in a Zen. Today, we're going to be speaking with Richard again because we love him so much, and he's always such a wonderful guest. Today, we're going to talk about the emotional, feedback of winning and losing, what it does to us neurologically, how we handle it, how we view it, and what we can do about it to maybe gain some control or just get more comfortable with either or.
Perfect.
Richard, take it away.
Well, it's so good to be here with both of you. And because I know that you guys are asking the right questions. If we look at how you handle your own clients, you stay away from the superficial and just the symptoms, but really looking to dig down. And that's why I appreciate talking to you, because we can go into the issues and to the foundations that really matter.
Sounds perfect. Thank you, Richard.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is going to be kind of mixed. Normally, this is a webinar, kind of a one-way presentation, but I'm going to open the screen and I'll show you. But what I would really like is interruption, pushback, arguments, have a discussion through, so we can really, so your listeners can feel the reactions and have the conversation. So it's like you're representing everybody, and that will be really, I think, a lot more interesting, because then people can move along with us and you can represent them. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to share a screen. All right, you can see that now, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, so Trading in the Zen, you guys, as I said, really appreciate your approach to trading and the psychological aspects of it. And so today we're going to talk about how our emotions react to profits and losses. And what the listeners can do is they can pause if they're listening to this on a recording, and they can go to conversations.money/Zen. And there we have the coin toss awareness game sheet that we'll be using today. And have you guys downloaded that or looked at it?
Yes.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been
Okay.
going to the course. Yes.
Great. And probability trading calculator. There's a coupon for a free Conversations with Money on our online course, and a coupon for our Compass course, which is our flagship course. So you can pause it, go there, and you can get the game sheet that gives you the ability to play. So the question is, many of your listeners here have been trading for a while, but something isn't right. They keep repeating the same errors, or they get stuck. And so the question is, what stops you from the success you want? So you guys can shout out when you see an issue that you or your clients face, okay? I'm going to go through a whole bunch of them, and you can say, yes! Okay, ready?
He looks really relaxed. I like
Yeah,
him.
making impulse trades, missed trades, over trading, repeating the same errors, stress, fear of loss, jumping from system to system, not disciplined, letting big losses run, feeling stuck, fear of failure, cutting your winners short, lack of confidence, ruled by emotion, afraid to lose money, afraid to pull the trigger, and self-sabotage.
All of it.
All of it. Okay.
Take me through the circle. All of it.
All of it. Well, the reason you're saying that is because these, over the years of working with clients, even professional money managers, these are the symptoms that we see over and over again. So what on the other side of the ledger, what do we want? Enjoying the power of discipline, self-mastery, enjoying the challenge, cutting losses, letting the profits run, trading with focus and flow, feeling joyful trading, increasing size with comfort, consistent profitability, setting free from financial worries, becoming a professional, managing risk, calm and relaxed, loving the challenge, joy of discipline, executing the strategy, financial freedom, self-confidence, real-time self-awareness, and feeling great trading with persistence and resilience. So these are what I hear from my clients, and you can tell me, does these sound familiar to you?
Very
Yes.
much so. Even
Yeah.
for me personally, because I'm an active trader. So I go through, and it's interesting. Once you sort of think you eradicated one issue, you have a new one. And then you work on that one, and then you do something else that's silly. So it feels like it's a constant work in progress, depending on the market conditions, depending on how you're feeling that day, depending on, it just feels like it's a circle, right? You never stop learning. And I guess all of these destinations are desirable, but once you reach one of them, you have a new destination to work on.
Well,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Louise.
Richard, I was going to ask you a question and what your thoughts are. So looking at this, the screen before, we can look at that and go, wow, feel overwhelmed because there's a lot there. And it's true what Faina says, we go through all of that. What do you think, looking at all of this, do you feel it boils down to or comes down to one thing or process of different things? So again, beliefs or programming or fears, what do you feel causes all of this?
Oh my gosh. We grew, our heritage is on the savannas of Africa and survival with living in our tribes. And as a result, our survival mechanism still exists in the base of our brain. And and trading requires almost the opposite of everything in our survival mechanism. So if we're looking at the deepest level, it's how to accept our survival mechanisms and still be able to trade from a higher level. All these things here, all the issues we face come from that, I believe, that base level.
Do you think a lot of the issues come from the fight or flight response that we have?
Sure.
Because I know that trading really is triggering. It's counterintuitive because we are supposed to keep ourselves away from risk at all costs. Trading puts you right in front of it, right in the middle of it. So it's understandable that a lot of the stuff will be triggered. But why do we go in circles? Why is it always a work in progress?
Yes. If we recognize that a lot of trading is mindset, and if we have a goal of increasing our consistent profits, we are continually stepping into higher levels of risk, and as a result, requiring higher levels of psychological competence. So it's never ending. And if we have the vision that, oh, we're going to make it and then it's going to be easy, we're in for a surprise. And, as I've said before, trading is such a wonderful experience because it tests every part of you and you can immediately see the results of your mindset. And that immediate feedback is better than anything else in the world. So the people who are trading, congratulations. You've stepped into a theater that will shine a light on every issue that you have in your life.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, isn't it? It can really test every emotion, bring up emotions we didn't even know existed. But with that comes growth, self-growth. We can really start to learn more about ourselves.
Exactly.
So would you say it would be like a muscle that we're trying to strengthen? And it's a continuous sort of like a workout for your brain that, yeah.
You just put your finger on it. Like when you go to the gym to improve a muscle, the neural connections, like when you learn to drive, you didn't have those neural connections and everything was, what do I do? And it was rough and you were looking at traffic and you're trying to steer. But after a while, you can have a conversation with somebody on a crowded freeway at the same time because the neural connections take over. So by increasing by repeating helpful behaviors, we're creating new neural connections. And like a muscle, then those things become easier, and we can challenge ourselves to the next level and create new neural connections. So I think you've just made a really important point. So the question is, what do we do? You know what to do, and sometimes we don't. Well, the Holy Grail, that's between your ears. So what we're looking for now is mindset. And today we're going to talk about a very specific thing, and that is increasing new trading behaviors around probabilities and loss. So any comments so far? Any thoughts before we move on?
Well, I always thought that part of trading is learning how to lose. And that is an art form. Learning how to lose is an art form, and it's not easy, and it's really confronting. But that is essentially, because if you allow losses to hinder your next trade, then it's just going to snowball. So allowing yourself to lose, and then advocating for yourself, gaining control of the situation, but at the same time being able to let it go. So it's a weird dichotomy of control and letting go at the same time. So that's what's challenging.
Well, you're exactly right. And that's because on the savannas of Africa, if we lost that deer to take back to the tribe, or if a warring tribe with us, comes and we lose, it's a big deal. So our brains have set it up so we have experienced a lot of pain with loss. And there's a good evolutionary reason for that. But trading is like my most successful clients, their win rate is about 40%. And the experiment, as they push that win rate up by adjusting their profit loss ratios and other things, that their net profitability actually goes down. So loss is a big part of it. But how do we handle it when we have that evolutionary thing that is not going away? So this is a perfect lead into what we're going to do today. So we're going to do a coin toss awareness game. And I've also added a probability training calculator, and they can download that in Excel for later on, and I'll go through it. But there's some really fascinating things about how our brain works versus what probabilities are. So here's the coin toss awareness game. So you guys, have you got it printed out so you can play along? Mm-hmm. Great. So yes. What we're going to do is in the right-hand column, the H/T, that means heads or tails. I want you to put in the row number 1 an H or a T. Are you going to call you're going to call the coin either heads or tails? Now, what I'm going to do into this pretend scenario is I'm going to pay you $300 every time you call it correctly, and you're going to pay me $200 every time you call it incorrectly. Now, the question is, will you take that bet?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why?
My intuition just said yes. I don't know.
Because you have a 50-50 chance.
A 50-50 chance, right? And you make more money when you call it correctly, and you lose less money if you call it incorrectly, right? So over the large sample size, you would expect to be profitable with this trade. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, right. So have you written down, don't tell me, heads or tails in the right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to flip the coin. And if you win, you put a W in row number 1. And if you lose, you put an L for loss. However, what you're going to do is notice immediately your emotional reaction. So for example, you win and you go, yes, $300. Yes, you might move it towards the 5. If on the other side you say, oh, and then you use a naughty word. I know you ladies don't use naughty words, do you?
No.
No, never.
Never.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. But if you were tempted to use the naughty word and you go, oh, girl, then it might be a -4 or -5. So the W or L is going to not only represent whether you called it correctly or incorrectly, but is also going to give you your emotional reaction. You ready? You've written it down?
Yes.
So here's what this is a 1959 $50. It's silver. It's when they still put coins in silver without that copper stuff in the middle. So here it goes. You guys have written it down. Flip. Call it tails.
Got it.
Notice your emotional reaction right now. How did that feel? Win or lose? And put the W or L in the column that represents the amount of emotional yes or okay.
Did you win? Did you win, Faina?
No, I lost.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm going to flip again. We're going to go really fast now. Predict row number 2. Heads or tails? And write it in there. Here, you ready? Here goes. Tails. How did that
Lost.
feel? W or T in the column that represents the emotional intensity. Okay. Let's go. We're going to keep moving fast now. 3. Heads or tails? You ready? Here goes. Tails. How did that feel? What was the emotional reaction? Write the W or T. Okay, here we go again. Number 4, heads or tails? Heads. Okay, number 5, write heads or tails? Tails. Okay, number 6, write heads or tails? And flip it. Tails again. Okay, so write the W or T in the column each time that represents the intensity of your experience. See, are we on number 7?
Yeah.
Okay, number 7, here it goes. Heads or tails? Oh, heads. Okay. Number 8, write your prediction. Here it goes. Tails. Okay, number 9. Here it goes. Tails. Okay, the final one, number 10. Tails.
Interesting.
Okay, so I don't know if you can hold your sheets up.
Don't know if you can see that.
No, it's blurry. Okay.
Yeah, same.
So what did you see? How wide did you have any 5s or 4s?
Yeah, pretty much 4 5s. There was a 7. The highest one, like intensity, was the losses. So I had 3 losses out of 10.
Okay.
And then there was kind of with the wins, kind of like a very quick elation, feeling good. And then with the losses, it was kind of like I felt it in my stomach. It was like this sinking feeling of like, I don't want to be wrong. Like,
say that again.
This sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach is like, I don't want to be
Wanna
wrong.
be wrong.
And that's a rebellious part in me. I'm quite rebellious, quite strong-headed.
I never would have guessed.
I'm quite competitive as well. So I think it's kind of like a bit of an accumulation of all 3.
Okay, excellent. Fiona, what is your experience? What did you show?
I had 4 losses. All of my wins were like, woohoo. And then the losses were like, I knew it.
I knew it.
And it was interesting because that's how I trade. That's a conversation. Luis and I were speaking about it the other day. It's this recency bias kind of thing. And then you go, I just knew it. Like good things don't happen. I knew it. Like the good things can happen for too long. There it is. There's that other shoe it dropped.
Yes. So
especially if I had 2 in a row wins, and then the next one, it was like, there it is. There's that shoe.
There it is. Yeah. There, I expect it. Oh my God, there it is. So First of all, may I give both of you an appreciation? Because what you have just shown for your clients is exactly the emotion for something that is just a friggin' coin toss. You represent that part of your brain, that primitive part that says we have to win, we can't lose. Now, I have played this game myself. I still get elation when I call it coin toss correctly, and I go, when I don't. So what the important part of this story is that that's so deeply ingrained in us that when we're trading and we have much more complexity than a coin loss, that experience colors our trading and steps us into a context where we overtrade, or we revenge trade, or we don't follow the system, or we stay in a trade too long, or cancel our stops, and all those things. Because what you have just clarified so clearly for everybody in your audience, exactly this deep drive for something that's just so simple and just a coin toss. So my appreciations, and well done.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So now what we can do is we're going to, whoops, let me go back a slide, is to calculate your P&L. So how many wins did you have at the bottom? How many losses do you have? Times the wins by 300 and times the losses by 200, and that'll give you a net P&L, and I'll give you a moment.
Richard, do we score it? Do we just kind of say, like, okay, I've had 6 wins, so I times 6 by $300. Is that correct?
$1,800, right? So that means you have 4 losses, times 2 would be minus 800.
So mine is 1,000.
So you were up 1,000. Excellent. Wow.
Being right 60% of the time.
Great.
Which is, hopeful.
Wow, you can predict coin tosses. That's amazing.
We can only transfer that into crude oil.
Yes. So what we've done in this one, there was 4 wins, 6 losses in this example, so it was a break even. So what is important now, that not the wins and losses, because obviously that was random, but what is your impact score? And you do this by turning all the numbers in the top columns to just a positive number, and you add them up. And I'll give you a moment to do this. So for example, if you had a -3, that would be a score of 3. If a -4, that'd be a score of 4. If you have a score of 5, that would be a 5. So we're turning all the numbers into positive and adding them up. So we're going to have a total score that is away from 0. And I'll give you a moment to do that.
I feel like I'm back in my croupier days in the casino.
Oh, yeah.
Good memories, apparently.
Apparently.
I got a 32.
A 32. Great.
I got 28.
28. Great. Okay, so this is a measurement of our survival mechanism. If we didn't have that, we would all have a score of 0. Because we wouldn't, we have a profitable trading system. It has an edge. It doesn't matter whether we call it correctly or not, because it's just random. But how far away we are from 0 is an exact measurement of our survival mechanism. So this is exactly, you guys have done so well, because this is exactly how we want to tease out the survival mechanism. But in trading with all the complexities, it's hard to see what the input of that is, given, all the other stuff. But with this, we can tease it out exactly. So questions or comments so far?
It was interesting with the beginning of losses. I was at a 0, right? Because like that but that shoe was dropping. I was expecting it. And then it started to get into negative numbers because the frustration was starting to build. So there wasn't an immediate like, for me, because it wasn't like I wanted to compete, because I was waiting for the shoe to drop. So it would only be normal that I'd be at a 0 because I was expecting a negative output.
Yeah. Well, see, this is really important. I was expecting the other shoe to drop. That is a behavior resting on a belief that we can explore another time. But having that expectation, oh my gosh, how does that color your trading? So that is just an incredible observation. So thank you.
What I found interesting actually is I felt it in my body before the thoughts came in. It was quick, it was fast, obviously, but I felt it in the pit of my stomach with the loss, and then the thought came in. So my body was telling me first, it was reacting first, and then it was kind of, which again goes back to the primitive, doesn't it? So yes. Primitive brain.
Oh, great observation. That in more and more in my coaching, I work with the physiology because that tells the truth. Our brains, our stories, our thoughts, they lie to us all the time. But our physiology represents those deeper survival mechanisms. And in trading, of course, they don't work well for us. If we were back in the tribe, that really works. Okay, so what we see here and what the people who are viewing this can see is, there's 3 roughly different patterns. One where we're close to 0 and we just play the probability game. One where we have a little emotion in each, and one where we have a lot. So depending on where you are in this, that will tell you about how powerful your primitive reactions are. And as I say, there's no blame or shame here. I have it too. Even having done this a dozen times with clients, I still feel a little whoop when I call it correctly. So again, there's no blame or shame. There's no judgment, but just recognizing that can be really curative. So the question is, how do we handle that? And we've talked about this before, I think in previous ones, is the golden keys. Is awareness, acceptance, and then agency. Oh, my survival brain has a reaction. Interesting. As versus being that reaction. And that comes with a lot of awareness training. And one of the things we do is I advise my clients to set an alarm on their smartphone for every 10 minutes or a half hour, whatever works for them. And when it goes off, they do. And what you mentioned, Louise, you feel it in your stomach, is what is my physiology? Like right now, I'm going to do this. My shoulders are a little tight. I'm exaggerating, but my voice is a bit tight. I'm kind of leaning forward. I haven't done this is like a webinar that I used to do, and now we're doing it more conversationally. So I'm kind of thinking, oh my God, how's this going to work out? So there are some little judgmental thoughts. So I'm doing my sensations, my emotions, how am I feeling? What are the quality of my thoughts? I'm taking a moment and saying, hey, I am with 2 beautiful people. This is going to be fine. Our conversations always turn out wonderfully. Oh my gosh, they've been such a great example to set a model of awareness for their clients. Wow, this is really wonderful. All of a sudden, my whole physiology, my manner changes because I went to my awareness and saw this, a little concern, worry. Now, the next thing is, do I judge myself for that? No. Oh, that's interesting. I got into a little bit of a tizzy. So this is an example of being aware of sensations, emotions, thoughts, the golden keys, awareness, acceptance. I don't judge myself for it. In fact, it's actually a good thing. It happened. I can say, well, it's a good thing because I can actually demonstrate on myself, awareness and what it does. Oh, good. That worked out just fine. And then I can, as an agent, being aware of it, I can then say, how would I rather be? Oh, I'd rather take a breath and just enjoy this time. Just enjoy this time with both of you, because it's just so wonderful to be here and to hear you guys and to model it and have conversations for things that really matter.
Would you say that my cynicism is a defense mechanism? Because there's a certain amount of cynicism when I go, oh, there it is, you know,
Sure.
there it happened. Just
Sure.
like I, you know, just is that coming from it's a defense, right? It's just my brain trying to rationalize and protect me from
Sure.
like going overboard and
Sure.
getting judgmental with myself.
Sure. By expecting the shoe to fall, you are lessening the unexpected pain. So when growing up, how did you handle disappointment and pain when you were 5, 6, 7?
I was told to walk it off.
Walk it off.
That if I wanted to cry about something, I was going to be given something to cry about.
Oh dear.
And so I've learned to just go, well, brush it off, keep going.
Brush
Get
off,
back
keep
up.
going. Okay, get back up. Yeah. Yeah. And I am going to anticipate the shoe dropping pain ahead, and I am going to just lock it down, walk it off, and keep going. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That is a wonderful awareness. So now we can accept how that little girl handled, when she didn't have many options, how she handled her survival mechanism and what she created. And the belief about the world is, you know, bad things are likely to happen, toughen up and walk it off.
That I can handle it. It's okay. Roll with it.
Yeah.
I've seen worse.
I've seen worse. Yeah.
I've seen worse.
Yeah. What might happen if life was just wonderful and the other shoe weren't ready to drop?
I don't know how to handle that. I don't know what to do with that. I can't even imagine that, matter of fact.
Yeah. I just got chills up and down my back. And a sadness. I don't know how to handle a world that is so wonderful and isn't going to deliver pain that I can't even imagine it. So here's the homework for you, is start to imagine that world. A world where you don't have to toughen up, where you don't have to walk it off. What would that be like?
I guess that would be heaven on earth.
Yeah.
That would be something that happens to other people.
Yeah.
You know, I can only draw upon like other people describing it. I don't have a point of reference. So it, you know, I can go based off what I've read, but not from personal experience. I don't know what that world looks like, where everything is working out. I don't know what that's like.
Do you feel you deserve it?
Yes. I feel
Good.
I've earned it. I've earned it through hard work and perseverance. I've earned it.
I've earned
that
it through the pain I've experienced.
Yes.
So in order to have the good stuff, I need to experience the pain to balance it out.
Because then I've earned it.
Then I've earned it. Okay. I don't just deserve it unilaterally without pain.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Great awareness. So your homework, and maybe Louise can step you through this, is to start to create that world where you're okay without pain.
Mhm.
And what you've just pointed out is modeling for everybody watching here. We all have different anchors, different beliefs, different identities, our attitude toward the world. And my gosh, when we come to trading, it's so wonderful that trading will shine a light on that and allow us now to say, oh, I'm aware of it. I accept it, because when I was growing up, I didn't have many options, and that was the best way to handle it. And now, what would I like? No judgment, but now we can say, what would I like?
Richard, a lot of traders can, as we know, can become quite self-critical. You know, we can go through this dialogue of like having a bad day and the market's going against us and we don't perform as well as we should and so forth. And it can really, you start to feel, a lot of traders say they start to kind of, because when I'm working with traders, I ask them, what is your self-talk like? What are you telling yourself? Is your self-talk and how you speak to yourself, is it supportive or unsupportive? A lot of the time, beginning the work it can be very negative. What would your advice be to a trader to start to kind of change it? I guess the first thing is having that observation of what their thoughts are, and then reframing it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We start with what is our physical sensations, our emotions, and our thoughts. What's our self-talk like? One exercise you can do for self-talk, and I did this, I went to the bank and I got $51 bills. And I says, okay, every time I have negative self-talk or a judgment, I'm going to put a dollar bill in this big jar. The $50 didn't last the morning.
I was going to say,
right.
It'll take me through 11 a.m.
What? Yeah, right.
It should take me through 11 a.m.
Yeah. So that's an exercise to help us start to catch that. So, and here's what you do. You say, when you have negative self-talk, you say, oh, you terrible person, you have negative self-talk. No. I'm just kidding. Oh, have negative self-talk. What is it protecting me from? What is the positive intent? Or one client is, well, my negative self-talk, I knew my mom was going to be criticizing me. She just criticizes everything I do. So by criticizing myself first, I can kind of get ahead of that. So what is the positive intent of negative self-talk? And oftentimes we'll discover something that goes back to childhood or earlier that actually is there to protect us.
Yeah, almost like a sort of secondary gain, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I have a question, and I was talking to somebody else about this earlier on. Do you feel that there is a difference between female traders and male traders? And if there is, if you feel there is, what would that be?
Oh my gosh. 90% of my clients are male. So I find that, and it's just really hard to generalize. And I don't want to, talk about groups exclusively, but certainly I've found the women I've worked with are much less ego-driven. I'm going to make this work. Screw the world. I'm powerful. I can make the markets do what I want. Now that's a whole exaggeration, way over. Where the other one is, I can learn. Well, what do I need to do? Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, this is interesting. So there's, if I look at the worst clients, they're the doctors, the lawyers, the people whose personal presence in the world actually changes the world. I mean, a doctor, he's so confident, he comes and talks to you. He changes how you react to him because of his personal presence and his power and all that. Same with lawyers. And they bring that, I can change the world by my personal presence. I know it's subconscious. They don't say that out loud, but that's kind of the attitude. whereas I get much less of that from the females. But again, there's a huge overlap, and I'm really hesitant to generalize, especially since I don't have as much experience with women.
Yeah, thank you for answering that.
Because my feeling was always that we process our emotions through talking. That's why we have girlfriends.
Yeah.
And that's why we get on the phone and here we go for an hour. We can tell that same story 75 times in a day, and it never grows old. And the way men process, they kind of stuff it down, internalize it, and just are expected to get over it. Right. And so there is something, it almost feels like through me speaking to some of my male friends who are trading, I will openly express, for example, my female friend that we trade together, we can openly say, oh, you know what, I'm beating myself up and here I go. Like we vocalize, verbalize, and then we immediately find a solution and say, okay, so I'm going to go do this. And a lot of my male traders are I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yes.
I'm fine. And I'm fine. Until the end of the day, they said, I had a huge loss. I'm like, you told me you were fine for the last 2 hours.
Yeah.
I would have done something. Meanwhile, we're immediately say, oof, you know, we start to process our emotions immediately. And it's interesting because I feel like it helps me come to the next day a little more clear and balanced because I've talked through it. And then my male friends, they get in there and they're like a bull seen red. They're coming in to avenge. They're going to avenge themselves. I'm coming in going, well, I better not mess up again. And they're like, I'm going in there and it's 9:01 and they already had 3 trades and I don't know how that's possible, and I think there's a lot of that just by nature, how we process emotions. And I always find it fascinating.
Yes, indeed. I was jogging the other day on a trail in the hills, and I'm going to be 76 this year, so I'm not that fast. And there were 2 women passing me, and they were going at a really good clip, and both of them talking at the same time as they passed me, and they were both listening at the same time. And I went, I have no idea how that works. Running, talking, and listening all at the same time. It was amazing.
Yeah, sometimes I'm trading, beating myself up, and already purging to my friends on Discord all at the same time. I don't know how that happens, but we seem to get it done.
Yeah, I have a lot more confidence in women being able to develop consistent profitability as versus the ego-driven male who just can't let go of being right. So I encourage women. I believe that just, again, not grouping people, but just generally without that male testosterone needing to conquer, win, and fight, they have a real advantage.
I agree. Yeah.
Where do you want to go now?
Well,
I have a question, if that's okay.
Therapy.
Releasing emotions and stress. Now, there are many different techniques to do this. And we've talked about breath work, and we've talked about visualization and kind of stepping away, stepping into success, stepping away from the ego. What would be your number one go-to to release a very bad day of trading? What would you do to kind of just get it out from your head, away from your body? What would be your number one?
Well, first of all, are we going to let it build? And if we are unaware and the stress is building, it's building, it's building, it's building, and we're saying, okay, now how do we release it? Well, obviously physical working out, especially for guys, could be really helpful, getting outdoors. But moving back is, how do we accumulate that stress? Now, needless to say, trading is so intense that if we can do it without building that stress, that is the ultimate goal. So again, setting an alarm every 5-10 minutes, depending, half hour, and saying, what is my stress level? And again, I'm going to do another SET, sensations, emotions, thoughts. I notice I'm thinking about the recording. What screen did it record? I'm a little worried about that. Oh, I can edit it. There's some thoughts there. My stomach's a little tight. Take a breath. Here I am with you guys. Just wonderful having this great conversation. You are so awesome in that you're taking yourself as a model to allow other people to experience the deeper drivers of their trading. How wonderful is this? And all of a sudden, I'm more relaxed. So by setting that alarm and doing that check-in, just like I did right now, then what we can do is not build it up. So if I, again, not being judgmental about myself, but saying, oh, that's interesting. I got a little eager. My stomach's got tight. Fascinating. Is that what I want? No, I just prefer to be with you guys and having a wonderful conversation. So my goal is to not build it up, but to continually take that breath and let it go and realize that just as we did, that if we have edge, that every trade is lucrative. And I think we've talked about this, that if we have edge, like that, the coin toss we did, it means that, you lose 200, you make 300. So that means on every 2 trades, you make $100. Divide that by 2. The probabilities are you're making $50 per trade. So whether that trade made money or not, it's lucrative. I just made $50. A salesman I talked to said, had a hard time making cold calls, but he realized that 1 out of 10 resulted in a $5,000 commission. So then he divided the 5,000 by 10 and 500. So every call he made, he says, doesn't matter whether they say yes or no, it's a $500 call. So if we can think about that, that reduces the stress also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a very good way.
I got myself a Peloton bike. And when I start to like my jaw starts to clench, I just jump on the bike for like 3-4 minutes. It also allows me to look away from the screen. And either I'm going to be like in Tour de France or make money. I don't know. One of the other, I don't know which one's going to come first. I really do hope it's the money, but either way, but it was just, I found a quick release, right? Because once the jaw is clenched and you get this tunnel vision and you stop completely, you get so disoriented and you lose all perspective. Just that endorphin physical activity interrupts the negative thought and helps me, just not even to look at when you look away and then you look again, you see something different or you don't see what you thought you saw. And it allows you a pause. So I found that effective. Not that and I am not a spokesperson for Peloton, but I make no commissions off of this. But I suppose sit-ups would work the same, or push-ups, or something just to interrupt and put endorphins. That has been helping me, because the other one was cold showers. But I'm certainly not going to run into the bathroom and drench myself in cold water. So. Especially on a good hair day, it's just not happening.
Yeah.
But,
indeed.
But
okay. Well,
what
you brought up is what I call a break state. So when we start to spiral down, I had a loss. Ooh, another loss. Oh man, I'm going to get it back. Oh. So we get into the context of our hopes, our dreams, our plans for the future, trading being consistently profitable, and all it means, the freedom and whatever. Once we start in the downward spiral, then our dreams are being drained. Oh my God. And so what you're saying is we need a break state. Boom, step out of that, do some exercising, and not continue to spiral down. So I think that's wonderful advice.
And just remembering that the market is not going anywhere, because we sometimes trade like, it's going to close in the next 5 minutes. And if I don't get that last trade in, it's over, right? There'll be other opportunities. And we forget that because we get into that like make back state. or the opposite of it. When you're winning, you feel invincible, right?
Mhm.
I think,
Mm.
and would you say that both states deserve a break, just to give you some, either bring you back, bring you back to reality, just to just center you a little bit, because there's like this, winning high that you feel like you can do no wrong.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that is oddly, it's just as dangerous as it is to spiral from the loss, is to have this like invincibility high. Markets usually humble you real quick. So it's interesting that there's like this intensity of emotion either way is not, you're not at level at like a zero.
Well, you're bringing up something, and Louise, you can comment and confirm this, but the typical trader equity curve is boom, boom, boom. Oh man, I got it. I've nailed it. I've got it. Boom. And that is over and over again. I see 2 months of just grinding it out, and 1 day or 2 days just giving it all back. The Icarus flying too close to the sun. And I have an exercise called the cocky clanger. And what I do with clients is I'll have them step into that. I've got this nailed. I've got it made. I know how to do that. My strategy is working just fine. I can expand my size. I can cancel my stop now because I know it's turning around. Famous last words. And I have them get into that. And then what we do is we do a motion, clasp our hands, pull our earlobes, go like this to kind of wake us up. And then we step out of that stage and then back into it. So people get used to what it's like to feel it from a higher level self, so that we can be aware of it and say, oh, I'm getting cocky now. So that's the cocky clanger exercise that everybody can do.
It's a really, really good one. I haven't heard of that.
It is. I have a question about emotions. So I do get a lot of emails and contact from traders who want me to transform them into robots or to kind of eliminate emotions. Faina and I have had this conversation on a previous podcast. My answer is absolutely not. No. We're humans, we're emotional beings, but I think the most important part of trading is managing your emotional state, not to detach from emotions. It's not good for us not to try and eliminate emotions. What are your thoughts on that, Richard?
Yeah, well, modern neuroscience is able to measure that we have an emotional decision, and then we have then the rational decision comes later, but our brains trick us into thinking our rational decisions came before. So it's like a half a second. So if the emotional centers of our brain are frozen, either with probes or an accident that damages part of our brain, we can't make decisions. We just literally can't. So I think what you said, Louise, is so important, that we can't, it's like shut down your emotions, be more disciplined, use more willpower.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's setting up a struggle. So in my current model and way of thinking is, we allow the emotions to arise. We're aware of them. We say, are they helpful? We let them come and go. And sometimes they deliver a message. For example, sometimes when the market's just been pounding the bottom of the market, I'm going, oh my God, this is never going to end. I say, oh, that's an interesting emotion. I'm going to buy, because I can use those for pieces of information as versus driving my decisions. So awareness again, acceptance, allowing emotions. In fact, some of the best trades are when your emotions are going to tell you they're the worst trades. Our brains are amazing pattern recognition machines. I mean, they're just amazing. And can you develop that? Can you at the same time manage your risk and the same time be aware of the emotions when they are taking over the pattern recognition? So that is not a trivial skill, but one that is worth keeping in mind and saying, okay, I want to develop my pattern recognition, my intuition. I also want to maintain my risk management, and I want to notice how my emotions are impacting that. not a trivial, that's a complex set of awareness and behaviors, but once you put that in motion in your mind and you can imagine it, then you can start to fill it in and learn from your experience.
Well, I think this is a good point for us to start wrapping up this, because a lot of information was given. I'm still sort of thinking about, some of the epiphanies, and I'm sure our listeners are having a lot of epiphanies. So we will probably allow them to process and sort of, there's a lot to digest, and we dug deep today. So we really thank you for being here, and we are looking forward to our next session. Maybe we can talk about pitfalls, market mind games or something like that, from your experience, like what how the market is playing with our emotions and
oh yeah, or how the news plays with our emotions.
Yes,
right.
That's a good one.
That would be definitely.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be our next subject. And this was incredible as always. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your kind, supportive demeanor, where one is, I didn't come in here trying to like drudge up my childhood today, but here we are. But sometimes you have to go where you need to go to get what you need to get so you can move forward. So, I applaud anyone who wants to be brave and look at a pattern, and it's, I guess, part of getting better. So we thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank
Louise,
you.
thank you as always for all of your really introspective and inquisitive thoughts. And for our listeners, we look forward for you to join us again on our next webinar, seminar, whatever you want to call it, conversation.
Yeah, right. And you go to conversations.money/Zen, and there's a special page, and that game form, you can download it. And there's also some free online course around money. So, and also there's one thing we didn't even get to. So it's all there. And I so appreciate each and one of you for your openness, your honesty, and modeling awareness, acceptance, and creating agency to be able to set your life goals and to start to put them into place. Well done.
Thank you, Richard. And I want to thank you both too. Thank you very much for a very insightful conversation. I'm sure the listeners are really going to get so much value from this as they did the last one. Looking forward to our next conversation. And thank you to you too, Faina, for being just being yourself, being amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Until next time.